Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for joining us on our weekly adventure, our weekly Wednesday webinars. And today we have a very interesting topic. I think they're all interesting because we usually get input from you, our regular attendees, because we're all trying to figure out this online learning thing. And yes, some of them are still in crisis mode. It's a term that Melisa put out there, and it's still relevant. If you read some of their newspaper or news reports, some people are having a very challenging time just getting students to attend. And at the end of the day, it comes down to student engagement, and it comes down to students being self-directed learners. And we're finding that when we're not looking over their shoulder in the classroom, it's not as easy as we hoped it would have been. So the name of the game right now is engagement, and how do we get students excited? How do we get them involved? A lot of you, I'm assuming all of you, are using the Google environment, the G Suite, Google Classroom environment, and there are lots of very innovative, amazing tools that integrate very nicely with Google. So Melissa's going to go over what she feels are the best. Now, between you and I have not seen her presentation yet, so I'm as curious as you are as to what she has come up with. But I do know she's one of the top people on our team, and whatever she put together, I'm sure it is first class and amazing information. So make sure you share this video. I will send the link out this evening. Please feel free to share it with your staff. And more importantly, share it with your administrators if you are not one. We are making time this summer. We're scheduling support hours. So your administrator, if they need help getting you guys up to speed, improving your online learning model, we have some methods to help you do that. What I would like to get into is just a little bit on some of the things that we've been doing over time. We're looks like we're on our 10th webinar today, and if you haven't had a chance to look at some of our other webinars, feel free. The link I send you will be in our Google group, which is called the Technology Classroom Technology User Group, CTUG, Classroom Technology User Group. Go to Facebook, type that in the search bar. Our group will pop up. All these videos are available for you there for free. So, our initial instinct when this happened, obviously 10 weeks ago, 11 weeks ago, was to help out the best we can with free information, and we're continuing to do that. All of these videos have relevance for you to help learning in the classroom from a distant learning perspective. I encourage you to watch them, share them with your friends, and be aware that over time, and I've shared this with many of you, our motto, our mission has been to prepare learners for a very different future. And boom, here we are, a very different future. Obviously, this is not what we had in mind, but we do have ways to help you get prepared. Many of our clients are on board. They didn't miss a beat. They are working towards excellence with their online learning program. They're managing it very well. None of them are in crisis mode. Let's put it that way. And there is a strategy in place. And so, what we like to do is, if you have a moment, reach out to us and check out our online learning plan, and let us tell you how we can help you make it work at your school. And one of the areas you're probably running into challenges on as we speak is the curriculum modification piece, because a lot of schools have figured out how to go online, and now it's going from managing the effort to excellence and getting students engaged, and that requires some massive changes to how we deliver and disseminate curriculum to students. So please go to our website, click on the free school analysis button, and let's do this. And as I mentioned, all the videos are available on our website. So with that said, I am going to pop it over to Melisa Collins, and Melisa is going to tell us about Chrome extensions. Melisa, have a wonderful webinar. I'm really excited to listen to what you have to share with us today. You're on, Melisa. Have a good time.
Uh, Great, thank you. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. So today, what I want to spend a few minutes talking about are Chrome extensions. Any of you that have worked in the Google platform for a while know that there's thousands of these out there, and I didn't want us to be here all day. So what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about what they are, and then I picked about 15 different extensions that hopefully are ones that haven't shown up on other lists that you have been seeing regularly, because I can find lists everywhere from the 9 best to the 50 best to the 150 best Chrome extensions out there. And so some of them show up over and over again. Some of them are ones we've heard of and used. And so hopefully today I have a couple that you haven't seen before. So first of all, let's start with what Chrome extensions are. Chrome extensions are actually little programs that have been written usually with a specific focus or a functionality. They're not like a big program like Google Docs that tries to do everything you could possibly imagine for word processing or, a database program. It's something that has been developed sometimes by Google, but most of the time by third-party developers to address an issue or a functionality that somebody wanted, to have done, or somebody thought this would be a good idea or something fun to run. They run in the Chrome browser. So that is the requirement to make all of these work. Chrome browsers you can load on Chromebooks, you can load on Macs, you can load on PCs, but they will only work within the Chrome. That's kind of the basic requirement. The other thing I want to say about extensions is sometimes some of these extensions do become obsolete because either they're not updated or something better comes along, or in some cases, what started as an extension became part of the functionality of Google. And I think one of the more popular ones was years ago when Google Forms first came out and we wanted to use them as a quiz. There was a little extension called Flubaroo that was kind of an add-on that could make your form become a quiz. And now most of that functionality has just become, native to Google Forms. So we're not really using that extension too much anymore. So it is kind of a good idea to go through once in a while and kind of clean up. I have had some extensions that I really liked, and then I went to refer them to a teacher a year or two later, and they were gone. So, that market is changing constantly. You find them in the Chrome. Okay, so why is my computer not working here? Let's try this again. There we go. You find them actually in the Chrome Web Store. So if you just type in your search bar Chrome Web Store, then you're going to come to a site that has lots of them listed here. There is a search. I will tell you it's much easier to know the name of the extension you're looking for and actually search for the name rather than search for the function. Like if you search for whiteboards, you're going to come up with all sorts of things you might like, might not like. So if somebody recommends something to you, make sure you get what the full name is of it. In fact, typically what I do is I go to the web and I search for extensions that will do certain things and then go to the web store and search for it. There are a lot of free ones. There are also paid ones, just so that you know. There are some, just like Apple or Android apps, that you get a free version and then you pay for more functions, or you have in-app purchases. So today I'm sticking with all of the free ones, all the ones we're going to cover today. Okay. When you click on any of the apps that you've searched for or the extensions you've searched for, there's usually a couple of things that I look for. I look to see how many users as well as how many stars, because I will take a 4-star extension that has 500,000 users over a 5-star app that has 10 users. Because to me, the more people that are using it, especially when it comes to educational apps, that says to me, this is an app that has found a functionality that is working, that's not as glitchy, and is doing something that other people are finding very successful. I also look at the reviews. When you click on that, you can see what people have said, because I'm usually looking at it at an extension for a specific purpose. I want it to do something. And usually if you go down through the reviews, people will say whether it has done that or not. And so if I'm finding that what I want it to do, people are saying doesn't work very well, then I need to go in search of one that's different. You also will notice that any of the extensions you add. If you do not already have it, you'll have a little button over here that says Add to Chrome. And when you click on that, then it's usually going to ask you for permissions, which, like we know with all of these apps, if you don't agree, then you don't get the app or the extension. And usually what it wants to attach to are functions of Google, because that's what they're made to run in, is Google Chrome. Okay, so once you add something to Chrome, what it's going to do is it's going to put a little icon at the top of your screen up here. And so you will see some of these run in the background. So once you've loaded them, whatever functionality it handles will automatically happen when you open that app or that function. Others you have to turn on and off. And so here's where you will find all of them at the top of your browser window. What I want to do before I get into my 15th that I want to share with you, I want to real quick highlight two of probably extensions that have become the most popular in the last, I want to say the last 2 months. One of them is Screencastify. Some people knew what this was before, but now I think pretty much everybody knows what Screencastify is, as a way to make screencasting videos. We did a whole webinar on that earlier, so I'm not going to really spend any time on that. If you're interested, Jennifer did a great little webinar on screencasting tools and talked about Screencastify. The other one that is a new one, but also is very popular, is Google Meet Grid View. We have so many people now that are using Google Meet as their video conferencing and video tool with their students. And soon after we ended up shutting down, Google created this little extension called Google Meet Grid View that allows you, once you've loaded it, that is kind of your default view in Google Meet. You can pick any of the other views, but it doesn't do them just the random and some of the other options that we had originally. My guess is probably this is going to be an extension that will soon go away as Google adds that into the functionality of Google Meet. Okay, so here's my 15. So my first one is called Share to Classroom. What Share to Classroom lets you do is find a website and push it directly to your students that are in your Google Classrooms. So on each of these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what the icon looks like in the web store and the full name, so that if you go back, if you're looking for something and you go back to listen to this later, that you'll know kind of what it's supposed to look like, because sometimes you'll find some that are named the same, but the icon will look a little different. So that always helps me make sure I'm finding the one somebody has recommended to me. Okay, so to use Share to Classroom, you must have a Google for Education account, and it must be loaded on both your computer and your student's computer. To use it, what you're going to do is when you find a website that you want to share with your students, you're going to click the little icon that's at the top of your browser there. You'll be able to pick which of your Google Classrooms, if you have more than one. If you only have one class, then that will come up. It will show you the link right here, and then if you click push, it will push it out to your students so that when they have their devices open, that website will show up right then and there on their devices. A tab will open in Google Chrome and that website will be there. It also gives you a list here of any of the websites that you have pushed to students. So if kids want to come back later and see any of the websites you've pushed, when they click on that, there will be a list of those. The students also have the ability to push websites to you as a teacher, not to the whole class, but just back to you. And you have the ability then here to see any of those that have been pushed to you. You can also take this website, Open Classroom, and actually it will open an assignment and paste it in, and you can share it that way. This is kind of a nice little feature if, as you're teaching, something comes up or you have something with the class or that you want them to see right away without posting it as an assignment to come to later. This makes a nice way to share. One of the ways I saw this actually in action, I had a teacher with a fifth grade class. In social studies, they had come across a concept that they had not heard about before. So she had them all open their Chromebooks and individually do a little research, see if they could find a credible website that would explain this concept that they were looking at. And so the kids used to push to the teachers or to the teacher to send the websites to her. And then she was able to look at them, find the one that she liked the best, and push that back out to all the students. So it's a nice little kind of added feature onto Google Classroom, more for an immediate sharing versus posting an assignment, going through those steps. Number 2 would be save to Google Drive. This one, once you load, it runs in the background. So anytime you are out there searching for images, it's a one-step save to your Google Drive. Currently, if you have, if you're not on a Chromebook that automatically saves things to Drive, and you're on a laptop or a desktop, if you want to save an image and use it in Drive, you save the image to your computer and then you upload it. But with the save to Drive, when you find an image that you want to save, when you right-click on it, in addition to the copy or the save the image here, you now have an extra added in your shortcut menu, which is called Save to Google Drive. You can save the link, you can save the image, and whichever one you click, you're going to get another little menu that comes up that also then allows you to rename it before you actually save it. So it's taking several steps and doing it all in one. So it's a quick little way to save images directly to your Google Drive. Okay, number 3 is Bitly. Many of you know this one already as well because you've used the website. For quite a while, we used to have the Google shortener, which a lot of us used to take those big, long URLs and make them a little bit shorter for our students or for attaching in emails. And then when that went away, we started looking for something else. And a lot of us ended up with Bitly or TinyURL. There's a whole bunch of them out there. But if you're looking for a way to do it very, very quickly without going to the other website, if you load the extension on there, when you are on the website that you want to shorten, you just click the little Bitly icon at the top, and it gives you a shortened one. You can click to copy to your clipboard and then paste it where you want it. It does not give you the option to change the shortened, like if you go to the website and have the Bitly website and have an account, but it does give you a very quick, randomized URL, shortened URL that you can use. I know a lot of times I use this, especially when I'm sending things out of my Google Drive. If I have Google Forms for parents to respond to, or documents or things I'm sharing with kids, when it's coming out of the Drive, you know that it has a really, really long web address. And so this makes it a little bit more manageable. Another one that does a very similar thing is one-click URL shortener. This one is actually tied to TinyURL. And the one thing that this one does that I like is, in addition, when you click on it, in addition to giving you the shortened URL, it also gives you a QR code. So you can copy and paste that. That way you can print it, or you can attach it to something. You can display it on your screen. So for those of you that are working with younger students or students with tablets, where it's a quick and easy way to get them to a website that you want them on without those little hands having to type a URL, or even sometimes using a mouse to click on a specific link to get there. This one generates both for you just in one click for the specific website you're at. Okay, print friendly and PDF. This is a fairly new one that I found. What it does is it takes a website and it cleans it up, gets rid of all of those ads and extra things, and gives you just the text, and then allows you to save it. Many of you may have in the past used Mercury Reader. That was one of the first ones, extensions that came along, that allowed you to clean up a website without all of the ads. But my frustration always with Mercury Reader was, once I converted it, I could look at it and I could print it, but trying to save it and move it to someplace, unless I had a print to PDF or another way of printing and converting it, I had a hard time sharing the things that came out of Mercury Reader. So with this one, if I take my website, and as you can see, we want to read about how electric cars work, but I've got all these ads and pictures and pop-ups. When I am on that website, if I click the print-friendly icon, then what it's going to do is it's going to clean it up for me, and it's going to give me just basically a one page with the text. What's nice is it gives me what the original URL was right there. I can increase the size of the text, so if I need it to be larger for some of my student readers that the small text is hard to follow. I can save it as a PDF, and I can also print it. So it's a nice way also of saving if you've got websites you want the kids to use for research, but you don't want them to get distracted on the pop-ups and everything coming around. I can convert these and send the information to the kids as PDFs that then they can open and get the information from. All right, OneTab. What OneTab does is it takes all of the Google tabs that you have open and it combines them into one. I will have to say, I have walked into some teachers' classrooms and I have looked at their laptops and they have so many tabs open, I can't even see what the name of the tab is because it's just a whole series of 20 or 30 of these tabs that are open. Now, one of the things that does, in all of those tabs that you have open, it does take memory on your computer. And so what OneTab does is by condensing them, it helps reduce memory. It also reduces the clutter. I've also been in teachers' classrooms where they have accidentally clicked on a tab that they didn't mean to. Here's the grade book or something that comes up when they meant to show another tab to the kids as they were projecting, or they have walked away from their desk and have all of these tabs open with very curious kids that like to walk by teachers' desks and see what's there. So what happens with OneTab is when you click on the icon for that, which looks kind of like a little funnel, it takes all of that clutter away from the top. It makes one tab that's actually called OneTab. And here are all of the tabs that you had open. So if you had all 20 of them open, you would have a list of what all 20 of them are. You can click on them one at a time to open them individually if you want. You can also save this one tab and give it a name. So if you're the type of teacher that every day that you come in, you like to have 5 or 6 that open automatically. Maybe it's your attendance, your grade book, your email, the online textbook, or whatever the activity or the video you're going to show. You've got those 5 or 6. You can actually create a one tab, and then once you bring that one tab, you can click Restore All, and all of those will come up. The other thing that you can do is you can share one tab. So if you have a number of resources that you want the students to use. In my example here, we had a class that was studying fruit bats, and these were second graders. So the teacher had a number of videos and a couple of short little articles, and she just made a whole list. There were about 10 of them that she had. She created a one tab and clicked share, and it gives it a unique URL and also a QR code. So I can post that or I can send that. And when the kids scan the code or when they click on the link that you've attached, it actually opens this one tab in Chrome, and there's all the links and the names of the links for the kids to go to. You can also share with teachers. There's a number of ways of sharing all of those links all in one tab quickly without having to give individual links for the kids or other teachers to click on. All right, tab resize. I've got actually 2 of these that do kind of the same thing. Tab resize is a little extension that allows you to split your screen into more than one tab. I know sometimes on Chromebooks, the kids, that's one of the things that they kind of fight with, going back and forth between tabs. It would be nice if we could see 2 things at once. The thing I like about Tab Resize is it also has keyboard shortcuts. So you can use the icon at the top, but also if you know the keyboard shortcuts, it's a quick way to split your screen. So with Tab Resize, when you click on it, you're going to get a menu that comes up. You can split into two, and you can split or horizontal or vertical. And you can also split your screen into four if you want to, if you've got a big enough screen to see all four things at the same time. The keyboard shortcuts, the Control-Shift-Z undoes whatever the last one you did, and then you can Control-Shift is just to take it to one. Control-Shift-2 is to do two side by side. Control-Shift-4 splits it into four. What it does is it takes the tab that you were on. So here would be the tab I was on, and it splits it between that and the tab that is to the right. So it's basically taking your screen, splitting it in two. So in this case, here's the activity that the hyperdoc the kids are working on. And here would be one of the articles for research, so they can easily go back and forth. You're not having one on top of the other and losing one and having to shift that around. You can resize them once they come up. If you start to resize, they will go over the other. And then to put everything back together, you either use the shortcut or the icon at the top on the top of your browser. The other one that does this is Dualist. And several teachers have told me they like this one for the students because it's actually pretty easy. For me, because it doesn't have the shortcuts, the keyboard shortcuts, which I like, I prefer the other one to splitting. But with this one, when you click on it, you really only get the option to split your screen in two, but you can have different ratios of how your screen is split and a quick horizontal or vertical. So I can go either way with it. With this one, it's going to take the tab that you were on and split it from all of the other tabs. So in this case, I have a video to watch and I have a Google document to type some of my notes or answer questions or, whatever kind of assignment you have given them. And again, they can go back and forth. Because this one only has, those few choices to do, a lot of teachers like this one. It's a little bit simpler, but both of them basically do the same thing in giving you the functionality of being able to split one screen when you don't have dual monitors. Okay, Web Paint. This one kind of does the functionality of what a lot of smart boards do. So what it does is it allows you, when you have a website up, you click on the little icon to open, and you have a toolbar that comes up that lets you draw, lets you type, lets you do shapes, you can change the transparency, the size of the lines that you're writing on, the colors. You have those different options. And again, it works on anything that's a website. So this is not going to work like if you have a PowerPoint presentation up, but it will work on Google Slides because that's running within Chrome. You then can take a snapshot of the screen that you've had up, and it will save it with all of the modifications. So in this case, where I wanted to highlight something, so maybe you have a map you're filling in. Like I said, it's very similar to what a smart board would do for you, and being able to annotate on something. Maybe you've displayed some type of work that you've had kids answering questions. Whatever annotations that you've put on there, when you click the snapshot, the little camera, it gives it a unique URL as it saves it as a web page for you. And then that way you have that as a record. Sometimes teachers, after they've corrected or they've done a group activity filling things in, they've then posted that. You can post it to Google Document or to Google Classroom for kids to go back and refer to, or just as a record for kids that were out, or for you as a reminder of how far you got on something. But it's the ability to save that directly on your computer without having to make notes on what you did on that website and start all over from scratch the next time. Okay, magnifying glass. This used to be Hover Zoom. And now when I went to search for just Hover Zoom, I found there were about 5 or 6 of them that are all called Hover Zoom, and some of them have to do with this functionality and some of them don't. What this does is it takes your cursor and it basically turns it into a magnifying glass. Very simple. You turn it on. When you turn it on, it turns red. When you turn it off, it turns that gray again. And so when I click on it, my cursor becomes this circle, and as I move it around my screen, then it just magnifies, that area. Like I said, this one is a very simple one. There aren't any settings. I can't adjust really the size of the magnifying glass. It's just a quick way to turn that on and magnify if you've got something on your screen that's small that you need your class to see. Visor, it was actually developed to help kids that are reading online. And in some cases, I've seen teachers use this also to help focus students' attention when you're showing something to them on the screen. So for example, if I take a page of a lot of text that I need kids to read, a lot of kids have a hard time reading online. When I think of, traditionally the way we read in books, for kids that have a hard time tracking, a lot of times we give them, a piece of paper, we give them a bookmark to lay under the line they're reading. Some kids use their finger, different ways of tracking. That's hard to do when they're reading online, and especially something that has this much text that they really can't do a whole lot about expanding. So what this one does is it gives you a highlight that you can move along as you're reading. It helps kids keep track of where they're at, so that when they look away and look back, they know, exactly what line they left off on. It's a one you turn on and off. You can move this just by dragging it. You can change the size, so you can expand it. You can make it smaller. You can make it larger. You can change the contrast, so that you can make your background darker and this lighter. And then you also have the ability, because a lot of times the backgrounds on a lot of websites are hard to read based on some of the contrast or the colors. So you can make the whole screen a little more or less reds, greens, and blues. You can play with that to get a color that's a little bit easier on the eyes. So this started kind of as an accessibility kind of feature, but I've seen a lot of teachers use it also in focusing kids when they are showing something to the whole class, because it helps to focus attention on one line at a time, or 4 or 5 lines at a time, or just helping in reading and eye tracking. Yeah, along the lines also of accessibility, this one has been around for a little while, but I just also threw it in there because I think it's good to know, and I find a lot of teachers that don't know this. There is a font that has been designed for students that are dyslexic. It's called Open Dyslexic Font for Chrome. And what it does is it takes any kind of web page, and when you click on it, you can say Enable Open Dyslexic, and it takes the text on that page and it converts it into the Open Dyslexic font. Now, what this font does is you'll notice it's weighted at the bottom or on certain sides. This is kind of a screen print, so it's not the clearest as if you were looking at this, live, on your computer. But the font is designed to help kids that have a problem inverting or reversing letters by putting that extra weight and drawing their eyes to certain features to help them recognize what the letters are. And this is a font, like I said, that's been out there for a while. The extension to add it into Chrome has been there for at least a year that I know of, maybe longer, but I did want to add that in there. I have one along the lines of fonts. I have one more. This is actually not an extension. This is a Google feature, but that's why I didn't count it. I called it extra. This is kind of your bonus. There is a font that was developed in 2008 by a team of educational therapists with font creators and researchers. And the focus of this was to try to develop a font that would help with reading fluency, because they were finding that a lot of kids that have problems reading, not only is their eye strain sometimes, but a lot of times the comprehension, the fluency is because our eyes get caught up, letters bunch together, we stumble over words, and when that happens, it's hard to read fluently and to understand accurately. So through the development, and they did a lot of research on having kids read with different fonts, they came upon a font that they have called Lexant, and there's actually 7 different versions of this font because the size and the spacing. They said kids and adults, well, all of us, just like some of us need glasses, all with a different prescription. What is comfortable for us reading is also can be very different. Some of us read very well when the letters are closer together, and some that extra spacing helps. So the reason I'm bringing it up is because one of the things Google added this year, meaning this school year, was the ability to add that font into any of your Google apps so that you and the students can type with that font. And to get to it, all you do is you go to your drop down, any of these apps that have fonts, you click on the drop down and you click more fonts, and then you search for Lexant, and then you can add all 7 of the different versions of it. And then from that point forward, it will be in your list. Some of the research that's come out over the last 10 so years using this font, I was rechecking some of this, talks about students, they don't get the eyes don't get as tired. It's easier to read than something like a Times New Roman, that has all the little extra, little tops and things that help, that kind of mush letters together. The studying, they can study longer when looking at this font rather than something that's simpler. All sorts of uses. And so since we are seeing a big difference just in changing a font, especially when it comes to reading and proficiency, I kind of threw that in as an extra. So, okay, now back to our presentation. These last 3 are more for fun than anything, because I think at this point, as we are all into the end stretch of this school year, we all could use a little bit of fun. So the first one is Google Arts and Culture. This one, once you add this extension, what it's going to do is every time you open a new tab in Google Chrome, it's going to give you a beautiful picture of art and culture that comes from that website. You have 2 settings. You can see the same picture all day, so it'll give you a different picture every day, or you can have it set so that every time you open a new tab, you get a different picture. So that's your option, and it just runs in the background. And then that way, when you open a new tab, instead of looking with that plain white with the word Google in the middle of it, you get something a little bit more artsy and culture. So according to them. Okay, this one, Noisely. This is for all of you out there that are missing your hours of working and reading and sitting in Starbucks. What this app does is it gives you some background options other than music. So I know a lot of classes play music in the background while kids are playing. It kind of is a calming and kind of focus, help get rid of all of the extra noises and things that are out there. It's always a trick to find the music that the kids won't sing along to, because that's my problem when I put music on in the background while I'm trying to work, is half my brain gets very distracted with the song that's playing. So what this does, Noisily gives you the option of being able to play background, just kind of white noise, background sounds and noises rather than music. You can set a time, so you want it to go, and you can actually set almost a playlist so your noises change, but you have rain and you have wind and you have waves and you have your railroad tracks and you have the background noises of a coffee shop. So here's for all of you folks that are missing the background noise of Starbucks there. So last one then is called Forest, Stay Focused and Be Present. You can, on this one, I would make sure if you're searching for it, use the whole name, because if you just search for forest, what you're going to get is you're going to get a lot of like forest backgrounds and those kind of things. What it does is it tries to keep you focused by keeping you off of websites that get you distracted. So what you do is you go into the app and you set a time, how much time you want. You can have a blacklist mode or you can have a whitelist mode. So the blacklist mode would be all the websites, that Pinterest and that YouTube that we really should stay off of and not get distracted by. Or you can do the whitelist mode, which are the websites that are associated with your work that you want to make sure you stay on within that period of time. Once you click on it, you click on the tree, it's going to start kind of as a little seedling, and over the next, in this case, it's 25 minutes. As long as I don't open any of those websites that are on my blacklist mode, my little tree is going to grow, grow, grow until the very end. If I do click on one of those websites, it's going to die on me. It's going to shrivel, it's going to turn brown, and all of the leaves are going to fall off of it. You also get little messages as if you check on your little tree there as it's growing in your 25 minutes. You'll get some that are, stick to it, hang in there. But then you also get some that are like, don't look at me, get back to your work. What are you doing? Those kind of things they kind of throw in there. At the very end, if you want to set up an account, you can add the tree to your forest. I understand there is a mobile account that you can also add them in and have them grow your forest. And, that's kind of the fun part of adding that as well. Okay. My last comment, I would say, when you're working with extensions, and hopefully I was able to show you one or two that you hadn't heard of that you think might be useful. I tend to go through my list of extensions across the top of my page about every 6 months, and ones that I have not used, I delete, because remember, these are little programs that are running in the background or running with Chrome or any of the applications they're designed to work with. So if you start having, 20 and 30 of them up there, that is going to slow your computer down. With the students, if you're in a school that pushes these extensions to students, usually they're saying limit that list to about 5 to 8, just the ones your students are going to need, not get too overwhelmed. But just kind of a cleanup every once in a while, because there's always new ones. There's always ones that come along that are a little bit better. And that's the answer. I'm going to send it back to Ernie. Thank you.
All right. Wow, Melisa, I'm just like blown away at how many amazing different little tools are available for Chrome. The one tab, that
Yes.
is going to change my life. I'm already telling you, as soon as we're off this webinar, I'm downloading that one. I need it now immediately. Anyway, folks, we're going to do a little Q&A. If you look on your little screen there is an opportunity to ask questions. So if you have any, please post them there. We'll ask Melisa. We do have one question from Vivian, who wants to know, she missed the name of number 11. What was number 11, Melisa?
Let me go back and see, because I don't have them memorized.
That was 9. 10.
There's 10.
You're getting close.
I'm getting close. There's 11. Pfizer.
That was the one you focus on the individual lines of text.
Yes.
Really neat. Also, I'm fascinated that there's actual fonts to help some of your special needs or accessibility requirements, and that they've actually done research into those things. That was really enlightening to me and pretty awesome. Let's see, just a couple of more questions coming in. Pasquale wants to know, he came in a little late. Will this be available as a video? Yes, this is being recorded, and I should have this prepared and sent out to you this evening. If you registered, you will get a link to the video. Christy wants the actual PowerPoint. Melisa, could you send the PowerPoint to me, and I could try to make that available as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. And let's see, Rick has a question. What is a good free ad blocker for Chrome? I guess just ad blocker. Isn't that the main one, Melissa? Do you know of a different one?
I do not know of a different one. No.
Yeah, ad blocker is free, and I haven't had any problems using it. There are a lot of websites that will not open if you have an ad blocker, but I think in an educational setting, that is something you can definitely live with. So there's a couple more questions coming through. And I will reiterate, Melissa, I had no idea what you're going to present today because we didn't practice, but man, that was good stuff. That was really good stuff.
Thank you.
Let's see. What, will the slides be available? Yes. Is grid view like Zoom? And it looks like, yeah, Google was trying to emulate the Zoom grid look. Is that kind of the same thing that they're trying to accomplish with their grid
Yes.
app with their, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
very
it
good.
is. And actually, I've had some teachers use the grid view as also as a way to kind of control what the students are doing on their end. So if you get all of your students to log on and you have the grid view on your computer and then you share your screen, then sharing your screen kind of takes over, what the kids can mess around with, but that way they can still see everybody. So,
Hmm. Yeah. Is there a limit to how many faces you could see at one time?
um, they will take up to 250 people on a Google Meet call. I think the largest I've actually seen, actually a Google Meet on the grid, has been about 40. So I don't know
Hmm. Hmm.
how big it gets. I don't know that you would want to do it if you have that many people on there, but
Yeah.
it's enough to cover a class.
Okay, good. Yeah. A lot of people are asking for the PowerPoint. Now, automatically, we will be sharing this video. Obviously, the PowerPoint is covered within the video. So if you'd like me, I guess we're also going to send the PowerPoint in addition to the video. So when I send the email this evening with the link to the video, I will also have a link to the PowerPoint. So I'll send them both together in the same email, and you'll get that sometime this evening when I have everything all wrapped up and cleaned up on my end. Sonia says thank you. Christy says thank you. Michelle Escabel Sanchez wants to know, do you know of any extensions, and she's asking you, Melissa, that are used for students to use for math, graphs, symbols, etc.?
So the big one is Equatio, or Equate.io. I've heard people pronounce it very different ways. That is tied to like a Desmos graphing. It allows you to open up and actually handwrite something, and then it will convert the symbols and everything. Not so. That's probably more a junior high school extension. I don't know really of anything more for the younger kids.
Hmm.
Some of that functionality is also in Google at this point. I'd have to look and see. I think they've added some of that under tools to be able to do math formulas and type them. But the other one, it's EQU. I think it's Equatio is the way most people say it. There's a capital I and a capital O at the end.
Is that the extension, like the website extension
Yeah,
IO? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Equate
Well,
IO.
that would be, it's all one. If you go to the Google Chrome store or the Chrome Web Store and just type in Equatio, but the I and the O are capitals.
Yeah. So the great stuff, and Melissa, what's fascinating to me is a lot of people aren't even aware of the rich ecosystem that Google has within their web store. There's so many things, and there's a lot
Yeah,
of, as a teacher, that's something, or an administrator, if you have an idea, you could create these little tiny web apps, get a developer, because a lot of times these ideas to develop these little individual web apps, they come from the mind of a teacher, and have it just solving a problem, and all of these are very unique ways to help you be more efficient with students. And obviously the name of the game is just student is keeping their attention and getting them involved, and these are things that can help you do that. So Melissa, I appreciate what you did today. It was great. I think everyone here loved what they heard. We will make the video available and the PowerPoint to you this evening, and from there, I guess that's it for now. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again next Wednesday for our weekly Wednesday webinars. And by all means, please visit our website at beyondk12.com, click the free school analysis, and let's have a conversation on how we could help you get to the next level with your online learning plan. Okay, Melisa, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.